Okay, so to start, we'll be hosting a 10-minute session, information and Q&A on Measure GG, and after that we'll move into our fireside chat with Brian Godby of Godby Research. So I'd like to introduce Jeff Baier. Many of you know he's Superintendent of Los Altos School District. Welcome, Jeff.
Thanks.
Great to have you here. And Sangeeth, and you remind me how to pronounce your last name?
Peruri.
Peruri. Who's very, very involved with Measure G and also on the Los Altos School District Board. Is that right?
Yes.
And Brian Johnson, who's taking a lead from our CCA steering committee and is a Keep Los Altos Strong volunteer. Yep. And you guys are going to give us a quick overview of Measure GG.
Yep. So I'm going to hand off to Sang to lead this particular presentation.
Well, thanks for spending time with us today. You guys are spending a lot of time in our community and are interacting with a lot of people, so we wanted to make sure you understood what we're doing with Measure GG for Guaranteed Great Los Altos Schools. We're just going to tell you a little bit about the measure without we leave the majority of time for Q&A. We have a very engaged and knowledgeable community, so we find that is the most productive way to use time. So the goal with GG is to maintain our schools that we have in the Los Altos School District. The district is doing well, students are doing well, we have a great education system with fabulous teachers, and we want to keep all of that going. And so the goal with GG is to renew Measure E, which was a 6-year parcel tax that expires in 2017. That was a $193 per parcel tax that has been bringing in about $2.5 million in revenue to the school district. It represents about 5% of our overall budget. For Measure GG, what we're doing is we're renewing that, and the goal is to renew that at a $224 level, $223 level. The delta is $30 per parcel, and the reason that we've increased the amount is we want to maintain funding for Los Altos schools, but we want to do this tax as a community with the Bullis Charter School. And so 15% of the tax will be going towards the charter school, which represents their approximate pro rata head count of our school district. They have about 15% of the students relative to the school district. So they will get about $30 of that tax, and the district will get about $193 of that tax. And that will allow us to maintain our current funding and maintain our schools. And so the goal really is to maintain the status quo with our district and keep a good thing going. Let's see, any other things? The main thing to keep in mind with all of these taxes is that none of the money can be touched by anyone outside of the district. These funds go towards the district and the charter school. They can't be commandeered by the county or the state, and this is for our local schools. Anything else I should add, or just going to
No, just that we have a senior exemption again with this tax as we had with Measure E, so that citizens 65 and over can apply for that exemption as well.
And it's a 2/3 approval required.
Is the multiple parcel exemption still in place? That was where I own 5 parcels, but it's for one business, and I'm only charged one. That's in the existing.
Then I will double check on it, Sam, and get back to you, but I'm confident it's in this one as well, because we really modeled it after the last one. So happy to open up the questions you might have.
Okay, so, hi Jeff.
Hi there.
And I'm speaking for me, Roberta, only, but and I just thought there were some questions that needed to be answered.
Good.
And it's sort of a 3-part question.
Sure.
2 years ago, the residents gave you $150 million for a school bond, and not much has happened since then. We understand the parcel tax is different, so I'd like you to address that.
Sure.
Secondly, our parcel taxes here in Los Altos are significantly higher than in the surrounding communities. Either Mountain View, Saratoga, Cupertino is $250 a year, and we would now be at $820 a year.
Mm-hmm.
And given that, and the fact that our growth in our community is coming from a lot of the Mountain View, what have you done to get Mountain View to step up, work with us in solving these issues? Because, as you know, we have kids in the Cupertino schools, kids in the Palo Alto schools, and it seems like the burden is being shouldered by a small amount of residents here in Los Altos with a higher tax than all of our communities around us that have good test scores, similar to ours. And then the third part of the question is the largest donator to, where does the money come from to send out the stuff in the mail to convince us to vote? And I understand that one of the people that's going to be sitting on the school board donated over $6,000, and she's running unopposed, which sort of feels a little bit like pay to play. So I think that these issues are important, and I'm the one that gets to ask the question, so please forgive me. It's not personal, but I think that the community would like answers to those questions.
Sure, so there's quite a number there, and you're going to have to remind along the way because...
I wrote it down.
Yeah, let's go through one at a time. So the first question again, can you remind me?
150 million.
150
Sure.
million with, it's like, why should we trusted you before, nothing's happened.
Let him answer.
Sure. Thank you. So the 150 million. So the first thing to keep in mind with the 150 million, that's a tax that was passed that gives the district the right to issue bonds, and the district has not issued any of those bonds, so no taxpayer has been paying anything of that 150 million. For us, that 150 million is sacred. Our taxpayers have entrusted us with that, and we wanted fiscally and efficiently spend those resources. Land has been very difficult to come by. We've gone through probably 50 different parcels. As you can see in our closed session reports and in open session, now we're on the 4th parcel that we're in negotiations with. A couple of those parcels have fallen through in negotiations because the price that we saw was not appropriate. So we've been spending a ton of time on this. We've been getting a lot of community input. We've been going through lots of different facilities, land parcels. And if we are not able to find land, probably by the end of this year, then we will decide not to pursue the acquisition of land, and we'll use existing land parcels to allocate those resources.
So, and just to chime in there as well, we have a 5-year agreement with Bullis Charter School that we have facilities and enrollment settled, so we have that window to do this work. We're interested in finding the best solution for this problem, not the fastest solution. So this requires arduous work, really identifying what's going to work, not just for right now, but as you mentioned, there's a great deal of building going on, both in Mountain View and within Los Altos, that are generating students. So we really owe it to the community that's entrusted us with those dollars, again, to find the best solution, not the quickest solution.
And this is we're really solving for the next 30 years, so the last thing we want to do is rush into something and be premature with that. We've also been working diligently with members of the Charter School Board and a Superintendent's Committee that both myself and Jeff Baier are on. So we're in constant dialogue. And, when we passed it, I would have hoped that we would have been probably 6 months ahead of what we are. I think we always expected it would have taken about 18 months to make a decision. Looks like it'll be more like 2 years, so we're not that far off schedule. But we wish it would have gone faster.
So Jeff, you mentioned a lot of enrollment growth is coming from Mountain View, and that is getting back to Roberta's second question.
From both Los Altos and Mountain View.
So here's a thing that's
So
quite
her
interesting.
question though is Mountain View carrying their
Yeah,
fair
so
share?
we have been working with Mountain View and with City Council, and specifically around that San Antonio Precise Plan area. We have seen some couple of movements in there. One, that identification of school as a need based on our lobbying of the city has been included in the San Antonio Precise Plan revision, so that's in there now. And in their most recent development approval, that's at 400 San Antonio Road, which is 583 units. It's a Prometheus development. It's, just for points of reference, it's where Dittmer's used to be and the Firestone Firestone dealership used to be. Their building density was in excess of the FAR prescribed by the San Antonio Precise Plan Area. That they can do legally, but then they also have to provide dollars for significant public benefit. City staff suggested and City Council approved that the roughly $4.5 million, just over $4.5 million from that be used for one of three things, and it was pedestrian improvement, underground walkway, Showers Drive under the railroad tracks, or a school. In addition, Prometheus had to contribute $26.4 million to a park in lieu fund in the city of Mountain View, and we have heard from the city of Mountain View previously that they would be interested in contributing park and lieu funds to a school in that area. So the city of Mountain View has actually made great movement in coming up with contributions that can help this effort.
But Roberta's comment was about the parcel tax on residents and not what developers are spending on the city.
Yeah, let me talk about that. So the Los Altos School District is made up of Los Altos Hills, Palo Alto, the county, Mountain View. Mountain View residents that are in the Los Altos School District pay taxes towards the Los Altos School District, just like Los Altos. So there's no difference. So people that are in Mountain View, they are paying their due. They're paying the exact same due towards the Los Altos School District and our children that Los Altos residents are. There is no difference. There's just a misnomer in the name. Also, in terms of the enrollment growth, if you look over the last 10, 20 years, 75% of the enrollment growth has actually been in Los Altos and Los Altos Hills. Only 25% of the enrollment growth has actually been in Mountain View. It is true that Mountain View is the fastest growing portion of it, but the vast majority of our enrollment growth is not from development. It's from houses, old houses getting torn down, younger families moving in. So really the growth is coming primarily from Mountain View. And the problem that we're working very closely with Mountain View, but they do not, the city itself does not have land within school boundaries.
Sangeeth, you misspoke. You said that the primary growth is coming from Mountain View.
Oh,
So we need to leave that in opinion.
Correct. I meant Los Altos. Los Altos is the primary growth. The city of Mountain View itself does not have land that they own within school district boundaries, and so they've been shown a willingness to contribute funds toward a district purchase of land within Mountain View. We've been trying very aggressively at doing that. It's been difficult. We had put in closed session that we had negotiations with 201 San Antonio Circle, north of El Camino Real. We did not consummate that discussion.
I just want to make a comment in relationship to dollars. It was my understanding from Chris Jordan, our new city manager, that because of the increase you just mentioned in the property taxes, that the schools would be receiving approximately 6.9% increase in the funding, which says, okay, why do we need to pay a parcel tax on top of a parcel tax on top of our, so,
Sure.
I think, my kids grew up here in school. I want my kids to, and all the kids to have great schools. These are just questions that come up when you look at the dollars and cents of it all, and us already paying more than everybody else.
No, it's a great question. So Los Altos doesn't have a large commercial base that contributes towards parcel taxes and property taxes. And the end result is we have to attract the best talent and teachers to come to work in our school district. And just given the tax situation, the aggregate tax situation that we have, we are currently in Los Altos paying our teachers in the bottom third in the county. And so teachers are like any other profession. If you have higher paid teachers in Mountain View or Palo Alto or Sunnyvale or Santa Clara or Cupertino, teachers will move. So we need to keep abreast with other salaries that are out there. And there is a teacher shortage in California. It's very difficult to hire teachers all across California, especially in Santa Clara County. And that's what we're trying to do. If you look at teacher salaries, they're starting around $50,000 and peak around $80,000 to $100,000. So we're not paying extravagant salaries to hire teachers into our district, and so that's what we're really trying to do.
Now, in the high school, the high school teachers are paid upwards of up to $145,000, tenured teachers.
Correct. The high school.
Why the difference?
Commercial real estate, right? The property tax generated from the Googles, the LinkedIns, all of those companies.
Well, there is another thing as well. So Mountain View Los Altos has about the highest paid teacher salaries in the entire state of California.
That's what I thought.
They're very well paid. Now, what you have with our boundaries, so Mountain View has they get the property tax base of Mountain View plus Los Altos. So double the property tax base of Los Altos, but they have less students. So we have 5,000 students, and we get half the property tax base of MVLA. MVLA has 4,000 students. They get twice the property tax. So that's there. It's not completely apples to apples because you have computer science teachers, you have PE, you have science, you have different types. You also have adult education with MVLA. But the end result is MVLA teachers are paid much more because they have a much richer tax base than Los Altos.
So is there a way of evening the playing field by redistricting?
Redistricting wouldn't, redistricting wouldn't change that. What would potentially do that is if you were to merge the high school district with the elementary school district,
Right.
and you'd also have to merge with the Mountain View Wisman School District. And I would think if you were to poll voters in all areas, that would be, I would suspect Los Altos voters would be against that. I don't know where Mountain View Los Altos voters would be there, and I don't know where Mountain View Wisman voters would be.
So this is all wonderful, but we're over 10 minutes. So can you wrap it up maybe with a couple of minutes of final comments?
So the final comments is we have a phenomenal district. We need to attract and retain our teachers. And if we do not, the goal here is not to grow our base or increase programs for our schools and our kids. It's to maintain what we have. And if we do not pass this tax, then we will need to cut budgets. It will be about 5 or 6% of our budget. So we'll either need to fire teachers or reduce salaries or cut programs or a combination of those three. There's pretty much no alternative. I'm sure fundraising from parents will pick up to cover some of that gap, but I doubt it would be able to cover very much of it. As it is right now, parents are funding $3.7 million per year in donations on top of the property taxes that they pay. So this tax would bring in $2.5 million.
It's actually more than that, because the PTAs are also fundraising $250,000 per school. So
That's
it's more like
probably
$5 or $6 million that the
So parents are contributing double this tax already in addition to the property taxes. And so it'd be really difficult to close this gap.
So Gary, if I can just throw on one more significant note, and that is during the recession, the state of California made the decision to completely overhaul the way school districts are funded. Right? They went from what was called a revenue limit situation to a local control funding formula situation. And so the dollars that were cut from locally funded districts like ours, right? We used to get about $5 million from the state annually, right? In addition to property taxes, there were certain programs that received direct funding from the state. That was cut by about $2.5 million, now the equivalent of about $3 million. School funding was completely retooled, and we know that that funding is never coming back.
As the funding came back, it went to lower income schools around the state, because now money goes with the economics of the student. So as the budgets have come back in California, the vast majority of money has gone to low-income school districts, and funding has not come back to high-income school districts. So the end result is people that live in the higher-income school districts need to fund that gap.
So that the money is sort of redistricted.
Yeah.
Yes.
In some way. All right.
All right.
I would just
That's a
like
good
to
wrap
say,
up.
thank you very much, Gary. I would just like to say thank you all for coming so much. That's really, really good information. And just for the benefit of everybody here too, just know that CCA is not endorsing any candidate or any measure in this election at all. That Sangeeth and Jeff and Brian asked to come and share their message. We're happy to have them come and share their message. We're happy to talk to any group that wants to talk to us. So if anybody else wants to come in and talk to us, if they're against this measure, we're happy to have them as well. Although election day is fast approaching, so we'll have time for that.
Yeah.
So thank you all very much. I really, really appreciate you coming.
Thanks.
Yes, thank you.
And if anyone has any follow-up questions, feel free to email any one of us, and we'll be happy to answer them. Thank you so much for your time.
That's great, and we hope you come back.
And we'll leave some
Come back.
flyers here.
And we'll make sure to get you guys on our mailing list too, so you know what our needs are. All right?